And of course, since someone mentioned golf, Spain is Europe's leading country for golf, with 160 golf clubs throughout the country. I don't have to bother you and to bore you a lot explaining in detail the importance or the substance of our culture, or even of our language. Spain has a long history. Spain came to America many years ago, and as you know, a large part of the United States was Spanish for a longer time than it has been independent and American, which means not that we left an indelible mark in this part of the United States, though to a certain extent we did, but it does mean that we have a presence in all this continent. As you know, Spanish is the language, is the fastest growing language in the world nowadays. The United States has become the fourth largest Spanish-speaking country in the world, after Mexico and Spain, and about to overcome Colombia. And as I say, it is true that we have a significant historical and cultural background, clearly connected to some parts of the United States. But still, though we are connected to the United States and we are not connected to Sri Lanka or to Kenya, in this country, as I said, the image we have is blurred and confused, and not only in the population at large, but even in the elites. You read, for example, in a report of the State Department published 2 or 3 years ago, a report about Spain, of the State Department, the State Department. You dedicated something like 7 pages to Spain. You could see that it used something like 20 lines dedicated to terrorism, when terrorism was not really an issue in the United States. Now, after September 11, unfortunately, it is an issue, a big issue, and I understand it. But at the time, when there was not such a big issue in the States, the report brought something like 20 lines dedicated to terrorism in Spain, but it didn't mention, it didn't dedicate not even a single line to the event about the Spaniards. We are more proud of our place in history. The fact that we came here 506 years ago and we changed the history of the world when Columbus came here, because Columbus was a crazy guy who wasn't sent here by the Italians or by the Portuguese or even by the Pope, It was Queen Isabella and King Fernando who decided that maybe the guy was not crazy and that they should pay for the trip. And that, in my opinion, in the opinion of the Spaniards, that changed the history of the world. But we read in the New York Times, for example, last October, I think, that there was a huge reportage about explorers and how explorers have made an impact in the world. And when it came to Columbus and to Spain, he says what Columbus left behind in the United States. And he says, he left behind measles, smallpox, influenza, typhus, and other European diseases, period. So according to the New York Times, that is what Spain left here 500 years ago. So I would say, is that an accurate way of describing what Spain left behind in America? I mean, we left behind the language, we left behind the culture, we left behind the religion, things a little bit more important that these diseases that were caused for different causes of what the New York Times says. And at the same time, I think we were the authors of a real globalization at the time. I think, I said before, we changed the history of the world. For example, who likes Western movies here? You like Western movies? Can you tell me the name of anyone? Who can tell me the name of any Western movie? Anyone, anyone, anyone. So you don't like Western movies, being American, that's funny. Which one? Okay, High Noon. Okay, High Noon, Gary Cooper, Grace Kelly, Kathy Jurado, and whichever. Okay, or anyone, or Shane, or anyone. Okay. They're works of art and very nice movies, but they're, how would I say, they wouldn't exist without us. They wouldn't exist without my ancestor, because the horse, we brought the horse here. We made possible Gary Cooper, Alan Ladd, and all of them. John Wayne would be a clown without us. John Wayne would be a clown. Alan Ladd, who was a handsome fellow but very short, Alan Ladd. You remember in this movie in Shane, when he comes to face Jack Palance in the saloon, he was riding a fantastic horse that my grandfather put here in the States, my grandfather or my great-grandfather. Without the horse, Alan Ladd would be a joke. You know, Jack Palance would laugh at Alan Ladd. Okay, you think of the horse, you think of the cow, who brought the cow here, you think of everything. And the other way around, who brought the potatoes to Europe? I mean, who said in the 19th century, without the potatoes, half of Europe would have perished, you know, out of hunger. We brought the potatoes to Europe, we brought the chocolate to Europe. In other words, because of the fact that we came here 500 years ago, we produced a revolution. We produced a revolution in the history of the world, and that we made a globalization, if there was one. Now everybody talks about globalization. That was a real globalization, what happened 5 centuries ago. But I say that that's for us, it's not a minor matter, but in any case, when in this country you think of Spain, the things that come up are paella, siesta. I don't know who makes siesta in Spain, not any longer, but anyway, it's paella, siesta, bullfighting, and dark ladies with dark hair, and not much. And when even when you mention some household names like, who would I say that is known here, Plácido Domingo, or Banderas, or who else, or Ballesteros, the golfer, or that's it, no more. People would think that Plácido Domingo is Mexican, or that Banderas is Argentina, or they haven't got a clue. They didn't have got a clue that these guys come from Spain. So, as I said before, the image of the Spanish image here in this country doesn't really exist. I shouldn't complain too much. In this country, not many images exist. If you think that 2/3 of the legislator, of the members of the houses, of members of Congress in the United States don't have a passport, you can't imagine that people here care a lot about what happens abroad. I suppose after September 11, that's going to change. So I shouldn't feel miserable because they don't know much about my country, but I was just stating a fact. I was reading the other day another magazine, and when Foreign Policy, when there was an article saying where the vital interests of the United States were in the world, and it started to quote, following a poll, it started to quote countries in which the United States has a vital interest. And of course, in the first 30, my country was not there. The first one was Japan, the second was Russia, the third was Saudi Arabia, the fifth was China, the fifth was Israel, Canada, Kuwait, Mexico, Great Britain, Iran, Germany, South Korea, South Africa. So far, so good. When you go to the end, you see Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. I don't know if any of you come from these countries, but and I don't want to be chauvinistic, but I mean, I feel a little bit restless.